Hi, my name is Yuli and this is Nerd Alert. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about my favorite moments of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, and if you haven't watched the first part of this video, I will link it up there. It is my favorite moments of The Way of Kings, and also if you haven't read The Way of Kings or Words of Radiance, don't watch this video because it's going to be full of spoilers, because these are my favorite moments of the books, and they're key moments of the books as well, so many spoilers. But before I start with the video, please give it a thumbs up if you like it and comment down below, subscribe for more of these videos, because we have very bookish videos, K-pop videos. We are getting more K-pop reactions out because they're doing pretty well, and also we're going to have a lot of new nerdy-ish content soon-ish, hopefully. And when I get back into watching dramas, I'm going to also be talking about more dramas as well, with Melissa as well. So that's pretty much it, and let's get right into this book and my favorite moments. I have tried to review the first book, but I really failed. I can't really talk about my favorite books in detail because I either end up spoiling stuff or end up rambling about a certain part and then I forget everything about it, and honestly it's a mess. So I decided to just share with you my favorite moments, and I have notes on my phone, so I'm going to be looking down. And yes, last time my video got really short, so this time it's probably going to be the same thing. But anyway, one of my favorite moments is the shipwreck in the beginning of Words of Radiance, when basically Shallan had to soul cast the ship to save herself and whomever was remaining on the ship, kind of Yasna assassination attempt. It is a very creepy and well done scene, obviously, and I just love everything about it, how Shallan gets woken up and how Pattern helps her and all that. I just really love it, and how she sees Yasna getting assassinated. I just really love this scene. Honestly, upon reading this book for the third time, I appreciate the whole book a lot better than the last two times that I read it. But yeah, I enjoyed this scene a lot because it just was the beginning of a new type of journey for Shallan, where she had to learn again to be on her own and to fend for herself and to survive on her own with her new powers, while exploring her new powers and learning more about them. And that's why I love this scene so much. Now, a different thing about this is that upon my first and second read of this book, I didn't really like and enjoy Shallan's flashbacks that much, and obviously I don't really care about any of the flashbacks that much, but because I listened to the audiobooks upon my reread, I could appreciate them a bit better and actually enjoy them a lot more this time around. Maybe because I already know the characters a bit better and I care more about them, so that's probably why. But I really enjoyed her flashbacks and they gave me a bit more of a different perspective. Maybe it's because I've kind of changed as a person and as a reader, but now I get her a lot more because she's obviously a survivor of abuse, of family abuse, and hers is more psychological rather than physical, while her brothers had physical-ish. But yeah, I really enjoyed her flashbacks, and some of my favorite moments were the first few flashbacks and then the last few flashbacks. The first few were about her mother's death, and then her last ones were about her father's death, and I'm not going to go that much in details about them, but I really enjoyed them, and I didn't expect to enjoy them as much as I did. But I think that they gave me a valuable insight in her personality, and that's what I like about him. And then in this book I also like Kaladin's struggles, because he struggles a lot with his basically views and personality, and also about the words as a radiant, because on the one side he wants to protect people and he vowed to protect Dalinar and the king, but at the same time the king is being unreasonable and annoying, as Elhokar is. He is a very hard to like person in the very beginning because he's kind of an idiot, and even Navani, his own mother, says that he is a weak king and not many people like him. People think they can manipulate him and all that. So yeah, and Kaladin finds himself steering away from his vow as a radiant, and that's when he starts having problems with his powers and skills and their connection link relationship, because of him basically considering assassinating Elka, and I just love the whole struggle with like his morality and like his own virtues and his own like opinions and stuff, because obviously he vowed to protect people, but he just considers killing who he has to protect anyway. So that is kind of like how his bond with Sil almost gets like broken. And like I kind of like the whole like part where he's just questioning his beliefs a lot, just because it like shows him as a person how conflicted he is, because he wants to do the right thing. But what is the right thing? Does he protect or does he kill somebody? Is it the right thing according to him, or the right thing for like as a whole? Like I just love the whole conflict he shows in like all of the scenes. And I also enjoyed a lot when he was learning how to use a sword and stuff. I just like do scenes, I like them for like kind of like the banter between him and Zyle and him and Adeline and everything before like he befriended Adeline basically. Like I love all of that. One of the best scenes in my opinion is when Shallan gets Kaladin's boots when they first meet and she pretends to be a horn eater. Like they're just like so funny. I just love it. And then again when they meet for the second time, it's funny because he's like, oh, you're the one who took my boots, and then she was trying to like command him to do something and he's like, I'm the High Priestess bodyguard woman. I just love that. Okay, I really love that scene. Also one of my favorite scenes, another one of my favorite scenes is when Kaladin is fighting Szeth for the first time. I really enjoyed that scene just because of how Kaladin encountered him. And he was fighting, and Szeth was obviously using similar powers to his, and he was a lot more like experienced than him, and that's how Kaladin kind of like learned what he could do to fight. And also he learned that he can heal a shard blade wound. But that's also a time where Adeline for the first time realized that they needed Kaladin, because Kaladin has some kind of abilities that can help them. Like I loved that side of everything like so much. It's such a good scene. Like I enjoy that a lot. And how Szeth basically freaked out because he isn't truthless. So yeah, I love that. Also one of the best scenes in my opinion is when we meet Polona for the first time, who is Sibario's lover, woman, whatever you want to call her. She's a Cardassian, so naturally reading about the Cardassians is always very fun and kind of like amusing. Such a cool scene because she's just like, whatever he's promised you, I'll make sure that he keeps the promise. And I love that. I love Polona. Polona and Sibario are just like the best comedic relief that you could probably have in the book, aside from Wit, because Wit is amazing, and also Lopen. But yeah, they're just so funny because whenever there's something serious going on, they just go and have massages during the council meetings and stuff. Like I love that. I love how they just don't care about anything. So another one of my favorite scenes is when Shallan is talking to Adeline about his shard plate and what he does, and like how it works with the shard plate and all of that. And then she asks him, because he isn't used to people asking him like about how he goes to the toilet when he's wearing a shard plate. Instead, he's used to people asking him about him fighting. And the funny part is when she's like, so how do you poop in the shard plate? And he has to admit that he's pooped in his shard plate. And like I love the kind of like quote where he's like, so yes, I, Adeline Cullen, cousin to the king, heir to the Cullen princedom, have shot myself in the shard plate 3 times, all on purpose. That's all I'm gonna say. I love it. Okay, I love it. So again, as I said in the first video, I love Wit, all of his scenes in every book, I love it. But the best part here was when he showed up. Shallan saw him and she just hugged him, and everybody was like, you hugged the king's Wit. And she's like, yeah. I love it. I love it. I love Wit and Shallan's interactions in every book, especially in the third one where they just have like this like playful banter. I just love it. Honestly, that's why I don't review these books, because everything I say, like every single word is like, I love it, love it, love it. I just love every single page of these books. Okay, like if I hadn't been listening to them, this is again the wrong book, I would have tapped a lot more. Like you can see where I was paying attention to like the audiobook because I was cross-stitching, and where I stopped because I was at work, for example. So yeah, anyway, so next favorite scenes is always that, but I'll see what I can do, is when Adeline is fighting against 4 shard bearers and he's on his own, and then Renarin joins him because he's his brother and he wants to help his brother, and then Dalinar is like about to join them, but he can't, he isn't allowed. So then he's like, have you no honor, or something like that, or maybe where's your honor, where's the honor that, and then Kaladin is like, honor is dead, but I'll see what I can do. And then he joins them and helps them win, and I love this so much because that's how he wins a shard blade, a shard blade and a plate that he gives to Moash and stuff. I love this scene so much, like it's one of the best scenes, and I actually always thought that it happened at the end of the book, but it actually happens like around in the middle of the book, and then he gets in prison because he's kind of stupid, I think it's bad, but anyway. So like another favorite moment is when Adeline is in when Kaladin is in prison and he's about to get released, and that's kind of like when he finds out that Adeline has been imprisoned as well, because Adeline didn't agree with Kaladin being imprisoned for what he did, even though Kaladin kind of overstepped his like rights basically. He still probably didn't deserve to be imprisoned, and it was just Elhokar being a hot-headed idiot. And I just still love this scene so much because that's when they kind of like truly bond after the Adeline being in prison as well. Even though he obviously didn't experience the same circumstances as Kaladin, he had like a much better stay in the prison because he is a prince. I just really loved that part of the book. I also really love it when Kaladin and Shallan are stuck in the chasms, because obviously Kaladin is trying to save Shallan, or like more like Dalinar, and Shallan and Kaladin fall in the chasm, and then they are like working together, and that's when they bond. And I love it because they kind of like find out that they're very similar to each other, even though they don't like each other. They have their similarities, and that's how they like bond. And like a lot of people kind of like confuse it with like romance, but it's more like them becoming friends-ish, and then obviously kind of romantically confused in like the next few like scenes and pages and stuff. But I just understand the whole scene, and I really love it. I don't ship Kaladin and Shallan, I ship Shallan and Adeline just because I think their personalities fit better than Kaladin and Shallan, who are just way too similar to kind of like work together. So the next favorite moments, scenes are again from the last 3 or 200 pages ish, like the very last bit of the book, like the last part of the book. The whole part is like my favorite, but what I really love about it is when Kaladin makes the right decision and he decides that he cannot kill Elhokar because he realizes that Elhokar is Dalinar's Tien, and obviously Kaladin knows what it is like to lose a brother. He knows what it is like to lose somebody that keeps you grounded, and he realizes that he cannot kill Elhokar, that he has to protect him. And I love it when he decides to do that and to protect Elhokar, even though he doesn't really like him. Like, I love that because he's like, I will protect even those I hate. This is like his third ideal, and I love it. I love it when he swears the words and he gets Yuli back. I love it when he gets the bond back. I just love the whole scene. I also love it when Dalinar realizes that his visions aren't like a sign of his madness, that they're like that pre-recorded thing from the Almighty. I don't remember if this happened at the end of the Way of Kings or in the beginning of Words of Radiance, but I loved it when he knew that they were coming from like the Stormfather, and it was just like a thing that it was a kind of like a recording of like his memories and stuff. And like I loved that because it meant a lot for Dalinar, and I loved how he bonded the Stormfather like effortlessly. He just went there and like, I want to bond you, I'll say the words and you're gonna be my friend. Yeah, because Dalinar Kholin wouldn't settle for anything less than the Stormfather himself, because why would you when you're Dalinar Kholin and you can have anything you want. And I just really loved that part, and how he just sucked in Stormlight effortlessly again, and Kaladin was like, it took me so many tries and you just did it at once. Like, I love that so much. Honestly, I love it so much. And then one of my favorite parts is when they describe how Elhokar was with the Cardassians and they didn't allow him to like basically order them around because it's a Cardassian woman's house. So the Cardassian woman is the king there. I love that. And how Lopen was like just determined to just breathe in Stormlight and he starts to grow his arm. I remember that when I finished Words of Radiance, which was like in 2015 or something, for the first time, I was like, oh, Lopen has a new arm. And like every time I read it, I'm like, yes, Lopen has two arms now again. He has his arm back. I love that so much. Also, another thing is that I love Verlaine Shen. Verlaine, I really love him. Like, he has like very few lines in this book, but when the Pershendi started getting like the fused Pershendi with like red eyes and stuff, he first goes back to the Shatter, to like the place where they live, but then he comes back and he's like, I want to be here because my family is gone, like my people are gone, the people that are there aren't my people. And like, I love how he chooses to go back to Bridge 4, and Bridge 4 just accepts him because he's part of Bridge 4. And another thing that I like is all of the random Herdasians that join Bridge 4. I just love it because they're like, Kaladin would go there and he would just see like random Herdasians like joining randomly. I love it so much. And like, that's pretty much it. I'm sure I have other moments that I haven't mentioned in the book because I loved so many of them. I had so many different favorite moments and I wasn't taking notes of them, unfortunately, so they're kind of like scattered everywhere, and I'm sure that I have forgotten a few, but honestly these are like my main favorite moments of Words of Radiance. And tell me what your favorite moments of Words of Radiance are down in the comments. And yeah, also, what is your favorite Stormlight book, if you haven't already told me in the first video. And if you haven't watched the first part, it will be linked in the I button somewhere over there or in the description somewhere. And also stay tuned for my third video of my favorite moments in Oathbringer, where I have less just because I didn't take notes as I was reading, because I speed read through it. So that's a lot. And yeah, see you next time with a new video. Bye guys.